Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of The North Stand with me, Sam Blacklock. We have an action-packed show again today as we take a look at the latest sporting news around the North East and hear from our guest panel on all of last weekend's sport and action. Plus, we have an exclusive interview with Teesside University badminton captain and how their season is going so far. But we start with the latest news from around the North East. Newcastle picked up a vital win in their fight for survival as a Matt Ritchie goal saw the Magpies take all 3 points against Manchester United on Sunday. Newcastle captain Jamal Lascelles said after the game that his side just wanted it more. The win takes Newcastle up to 13th, with only 2 points above the drop zone. Rafa Benitez's side are not in action this weekend due to the 5th round of the FA Cup and return to action with a trip to Bournemouth next weekend. Meanwhile at Hartlepool, the club have reissued representatives that donations received by supporters will be used to meet financial commitments within the club. The statement published on the Pool's site means the National League side will be able to continue to run and fulfil the rest of this month's fixtures. An official police investigation is also ongoing as they look into the alleged financial irregularities at Victoria Park. This follows the club's announcements last weekend that no members of staff at the club are currently under investigation. And finally, in today's North Stand news, former Sunderland striker Jermaine Defoe will be honoured for his positivity and commitment away from the football pitch at the North East Football Writers' annual awards night. Defoe, who scored 37 goals over 3 seasons at the Stadium of Light, will be awarded with the North East Personality of the Year award in association with the Sir Bobby Robson Foundation. The 35-year-old has been awarded the trophy for the support and dedication shown for Bradley Lowry, the 6-year-old Sunderland fan who sadly passed away after being diagnosed with neuroblastoma cancer. Bradley caught the hearts of the whole nation and helped raise awareness of neuroblastoma, a rare type of cancer which affects less than 100 children in the UK each year. The awards night will be held this Sunday at the Ramside Hall Hotel in Durham, where former Sunderland goalkeeper Jordan Pickford will be awarded Young Player of the Year award. And that is today's North Stand news. And now we head to Tommy for today's discussion.
It's panel time on the show with guests Jake Self, Luke Beaumont and Luke Gray. Lads, what a weekend of football it's been. We've got to start at St James's Park. Newcastle United beating Manchester United 1-0 after a second half Matt Ritchie strike. Huge win for the Magpies, Jake.
Oh, it's massive. You know, you just have to look at it now. 2 points of the drop zone. It's one of them. You go into the game, I'm not going to lie, I thought Newcastle aren't going to get anything out of this. And then Mourinho's got a bad record at St James's, but I just thought, you know, it's too much of an ask to go there. Oh, you know, stay at home and beat them. But you know what? Fair play. You beat them. You know, 2 points above it now. Just got to keep that form going. It's Bournemouth at the weekend. Should say probably more important than the game just gone.
Yeah.
You know, you beat Bournemouth. You know, you can potentially be 5 points above it and kick on from there. So yeah, big win.
What's the impact, Luke?
It's a huge result with Huddersfield winning in the dinner time kick-off on Saturday. It put huge pressure on Newcastle, putting them into the bottom 3 before their game. So that could have damaged the team negatively going into the United game in the bottom 3, but it seemed to spur them on and they got a massive win, and now it's looking like they've given themselves a great chance of survival.
Definitely say the same as Jake. I think it's a massive result, especially a team of the calibre of Man United, but I agree that I think Bournemouth is the big game. You look at Bournemouth in a couple of weeks now, after getting smashed by an out of form at the time Huddersfield side. If Newcastle could pick up 3 points there, then I'd think that's massive, because I'd say it's probably 2 spaces up for grabs now. I think West Brom are pretty much down and out, 7 points, only won 3 games all season. Be a bit surprised if they could turn that around, but there's still 9 or 10 teams still in the mix for those 2 spots. I think it's going to be a cracking end to the season.
It'll be a very, very interesting end of the season, isn't it? Moving on to Sunderland now. And despite a miserable season for the Black Cats so far, Chris Coleman's side came back from 3-0 down to draw 3-3 away at Bristol City. Bristol Bull is what they called it. Jake, what's your thoughts?
Well, you know, Sunderland recently, I think they probably will go down. But, you know, it's massive, innit? There's all this talk about them having no fighting spirit, and to come back 3-all. I mean, all a bit helped by Bristol City scoring 2 goals for him. But, you know, he's still got to get the extra goal to get the equaliser, and they've done it. You know, Aidan McGeady's popped up, he's got it. And it's massive for them because teams around them drop points this weekend. You know, Birmingham losing to Villa, that's massive. You know, they get an extra point towards safety. I think they will go down, but hey, you know what? It's again like I just said about Newcastle. You can put a run of results together. Next thing you know, you sit in 5-6 points of safety. You know, so hopefully for them they can kick on, but personally I don't think they will.
Luke, is Chris Coleman the right man to keep them up?
I'd say so. He did really well with Wales, and he's done good at club level as well. But before the game, I thought Sunderland were dead and buried. The players this season haven't looked interested or motivated. But coming back from 3-0 down at Bristol, which is a tough place to go, a really tough place, that might be the result to, spur them on and climb up the table and get out of that relegation zone.
Luke, Sunderland got Brentford at home this Saturday. How do you think it'll fare?
I think it's another massive game, as we said about Newcastle. It's all well and good getting a good result in a previous game if you don't follow that on with a good performance. But I think, Brentford, I think they drew with Preston at the weekend at home, so they've got a, that's the kind of game they've got to look at and think, right, we're at home. Yes, notoriously they've been awful at home, but they've got to try and, this last sort of 2-3 months of the season, turn the stadium light into a place where teams are scared to go, because it's a long way to go for clubs, especially a small club like Brentford, going all the way up to Sunderland, probably aren't going to bring more than 400 or 500 away supporters. So they've got to look at games like this where they can not bully a team, but the fans in the stand have got to be that 12th man, and they've got to sort of scare the opposition in the way that Newcastle did against Manchester United. St James's Park was like a cauldron, and like I said, the Man United players didn't fancy it. And I think Sunderland have got to take a leaf out of Newcastle's book and turn the stadium like into a fortress. So I do fancy them to pick up 3 points against Brentford and kick on from that great result against Bristol City.
The thing with Sunderland at the moment is like, you just can't see where the goals are going to come from.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had to loan Ashley Fletcher from Borough, and he's scored 2 goals all season for us, and they've lost Lewis Grabban, haven't they, and James Vaughan, and they were honestly the only outlet I thought they were going to get goals from. Grabban had about 15 goals before he left. Now they've got someone who's got 2 goals. It's really one of them, like, you just think how can a team with the quality they've got, like, up front, how they going to stay up if your top goal scorer's literally got
If you don't have a goal scorer in the Championship, you go down. Simple as that.
Simple as that, isn't it? Simple as that. Well, it's going to be very interesting in the season at Stadium Light, isn't it? Moving down to the Riverside now, and Tony Pruse's side managed to bag all 3 points of Riverside with a 2-1 victory over Reading. Victory leaves Middlesbrough sitting 9th in the place in the table, just 4 points outside the top 6. Jake, you were there. What do you reckon?
Well, it's one of them. I think prior to the game, for me, it was must win. You go into that game 6 points outside the top 6, you lose that, and if the other teams pick up results around you, you're 9 points off, and that's it. You're looking up the table and you think, oh my God, how are we going to get up here? But, teams above us drop points, and we had a Traore to thank yet again. I think we've become proper reliant. We was honestly become so reliant on him in recent weeks. But he's popped up, got the 2 goals, and I think we were comfortable for most of that game. But it was our own dealings again that let them back in. It was such a sloppy goal to concede. It wouldn't put any pressure on Reading players, and he just popped it in. You just think that could be the problem for us come the end of the season, conceding silly goals. And there was a penalty incident as well. Aston Malonga wrestled the ball off. Ledbetter is, he's the designated penalty taker, and he skies it thinking he's in the Six Nations. So, he does that, and you just think, honestly, Reading could have got themselves easily back in that, and it could have been 2 points drop instead of the 3 points. Got to watch out for those mistakes.
4 points outside the top 6. Luke, do you think Middlesbrough are going to do it? Think they get the top 6?
After that result at the weekend, I think they can, but what they have to do is now build on that win and put a string of 4 or 5 wins together to get themselves into the playoffs. Because what Borough have done this season is been inconsistent, like getting a big win and then going to a smaller side and losing, something like that. So if they can string a few results together, I know they've got Cardiff next, which is a tough game, very tough game, but if they can go there, not lose, maybe pick up a point, then they're going to 3 games against Hull, Leeds and Sunderland, I think. So that'll give them a great chance to get 9 points out of them games and climb into the top 6. I was really impressed with Adama Traore at the weekend. I felt he's really matured under Pulis and added a final product to his game. He can assist goals, score goals like he saw at the weekend. And I think he's going to be a player that will probably find hard to keep hold of in the summer if they don't go up.
Luke, tough test follows Borough this weekend for a long trip down to Swansea. Not to Swansea, to Cardiff, sorry. other team in Wales there. What do you think is going to happen this weekend?
I think, well, as we said with all the other teams we spoke about, it's a massive test for them, because obviously Cardiff are that side that everyone keeps saying, they're going to drop off, they're going to drop out the players, they're going to keep dropping points, but they keep winning. I mean, they picked up a good 2-0 win against Bolton the other night, and I think they just keep plugging away, getting victories. They're going under the radar, but I think, you look at Borough, there's always that one team in the Championship that goes under the radar at the end of the season, and they string 6-7 wins together and they get into the playoffs. And I mean, there's no reason why that can't be Borough this season, because you look at the talent they've got in that side, and it's a probably top 3 side easy. I mean, obviously you've got Wolves, who are running away with the league by the looks of it. Then you've got like Derby have been pretty inconsistent of late. Villa are kicking on at the right time, but Borough really should be up there challenging with those sort of sides for the top 2 places, and shouldn't be in the position where they're saying, oh, if we get a late run together, we might nip into 6th place. But I think, you get to the playoffs, and the playoffs is a lottery. You look at Huddersfield last year, nobody expected them to knock Sheffield Wednesday out, and no one expected them to win. I mean, and then even in Reading in the final. So it's a total lottery, and I think Pulis is a good manager to have in these situations, because he'll be able to grind out wins, because I'm sure no one at the Riverside on Saturday walked away thinking, oh, that was a great game of expansive open football, but they walked away thinking, we've ground out 3 points, and that's what they need. They think a point against Cardiff would be a good result, but then they need 9 points out of 9 in those next 3 games to really kick on towards the end of the season.
It's going to be interesting end of the season for all 3 of the North East teams, yeah. It's been Tommy Longworth here on the panel show with guests Jake Self, Luke Beaumont and Luke Gray. Thank you very much. We'll see you back in the studio.
Last weekend proved to be a successful weekend for North East teams. Sunderland netted 3-leg goals to come back to seal a point away at Bristol City, while Middlesbrough were 2-1 winners over Reading. We now head to Callum Weller for this week's social media reaction.
Sunderland midfielder Ethan Robson took to Twitter after Sunderland's draw. Tremendous team spirit showed today by the lads to come back from 3 goals. We must build on this. Travelling fans were brilliant. Ben Gibson also posted, the names on the front of our shirts today deserve the 3 points as much as anything. Well done everyone, Teesside Hospice, great result. Newcastle player Hosselu also took to social media to say, very happy for the great results of today, perfect atmosphere and support as always. We all are NUFC. Gateshead keeper James Montgomery was delighted with his side's victory. Good winning reaction today, lads in front unreal. Happy with another clean sheet, 10-16. And that's it today's social media news. Now back to Sam in the studio.
Now, Teesside University men's badminton team sit 4th in the Bucks Northern 5B division. And earlier this week, they went up against 2nd place Sheffield Hallam University. Our reporter Andy Hayes went down to see the boys in action and spoke exclusively to men's captain Thomas Harker.
This week's focus on campus sports is on the Teesside men's badminton team, in which their season of struggle continues with a crushing loss to Sheffield Hallam University. I was there at the Teesside Sports Hall to report the full story. This week we look at badminton, as Teesside Men's University will look to avoid a 3rd straight defeat. Their opponents today are Sheffield Hallam University, and the last time these two met it was 7-1 to Sheffield Hallam. Let's hope that the scoreline will be different and in Teesside University's favour. Teesside badminton so far have lacked in building momentum, and after last week's loss to Huddersfield, the leaders, it would take a lot of improvement if they return to winning ways against Sheffield Hallam, a university priding itself on badminton specifically. Early on, things were looking up, as Teesside had a 3-2 lead. Though despite losing their first doubles match, Charlie Saunders and Iskander Shah fired back quickly to equalise the score. Teesside can also thank single wins from Mikey Healy and captain Thomas Harker to boost the push for a win, although in the end it would not look up great for Teesside. In the end, Sheffield Hallam were the victors at 5-3, and what saw an early Teesside lead fail miserably and again caused badminton another loss for the season. Despite this though, Thomas Harker had proud words for his teammates as we got an interview with him after his match. So how do you think your season's going so far?
So we've played, this is our 4th game in the season. We've won 2 of the 3 and this is our 4th, so hopefully continue winning.
Yep. What would you say your room for improvements are at the moment?
So far will be, I think for all of our players is keeping our fitness going. We train once a week for our team training, and then we have our match on the Wednesday. That's it, keeping fitness going to compete in our league and do well in those games, I'd say.
Yep. And who would you say your star players are on the team at the moment?
I'd say Mikey's our best singles. He's playing at the bottom. He's our number 1. And our top doubles team is Charlie and Iskander. Charlie's our first year student, so he'll progress through the years and hopefully improve and do well for our year.
Yep, cheers mate, that's good.
Thank you very much.
Moving on from this, in a game which would see the Teesside Cougars American football team clinch a winning season and a seed in the post-season playoffs, the Cougars defeated and, more importantly, caused an upset against the Edinburgh Predators with a confident 30-20 win. Head coach Chris Grace has stated that his team must still remain in full force if they are to clinch a more dominant place in the post-season playoff rankings. And to continue from last week's achievement of the Teesside men's second football team winning their division title, the first team came from behind to win 3-2 in their game against York St John. The win also sees them go joint second with their opponent and close in on the top spot team Newcastle. And the shooting boots were strangely off for our futsal team, who lost to York during the week, but despite this, they still remain at top spot by 3 points over their rival opponents. Now for the rest of your campus sports. To begin with, there were a fair few cancellations this week. The women's rugby team had their game cancelled against York for unknown reasons, as well as both women's and men's hockey teams set to go to Sunderland were greeted with an unplayable and waterlogged pitch. Despite effort for it to be usable, the game had to be postponed. Basket sports had an off day, which came to the surprise of some for our netball fans. The netball team remained at the top spot, but it was fortunate after a last-second shot that saw them draw with title-chasing York. The game finished 31 apiece, but it still allowed Teesside to remain at top by 3 points. As for men's basketball, the search for a win continues, as yet again they lost to first-place York 81-51. Their coach has said that the lack of players this season is making it tough to compete in such a strong league with a lot of great athletes and players. Yet again, the racket sports had a showing they would want to forget. The squash team made no movements in the league after losing to second place Sheffield 3-0. And the latest instalment of Teesside Sports, the tennis club lost yet again in their rookie season against Leeds Beckett 10-2 to have their search for their first win still on the search. Chair and captain Duncan Andrews has said despite their struggle in their opening season, he's pleased with the progress that his players are making. That's it today for your campus sports. And congratulations to the Teesside Cougars on their winning season and their post-playoff achievement. And let's hope for the rest of our teams that they can bring more glory and trophies towards the end of the season.
Sunderland fans will be able to pay their respects to former player Liam Miller at tomorrow's home game against Brentford. Liam, who played 60 games for Sunderland between 2006 and 2009, sadly passed away last week at the age of 36 after bravely battling pancreatic cancer. Supporters are asked to take their seats in plenty of time ahead of kick-off prior to the minute's applause. And that is all we have time for on today's episode of The North Stand. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. See you same time, same place next week.